wanted to take some time out of Fred's schedule today and just visit with him about his wheat crop. You know, the wheat crop has been pretty challenging the last 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of people maybe didn't get as much wheat drilled this past fall that they wanted to. So kind of, if you could share with our audience here kind of the amount of acres maybe that you'd get drilled or that you didn't get drilled.
In a normal year, I'll plant about half my acres to wheat, and half of that will be wheat into wheat, and the other half will be double crop after soybeans. Okay. And this year I actually did get all of my acres in. I am 100% no-till, so the fact that the ground was able to take on that much moisture since October the 15th or whatever that was until now really helped out, and I could stay on top of the ground. I'm not saying that all of the rows are straight or that there aren't some skips out there, but all of it went in.
Okay, great. Well, wheat certainly has come back in the number of acres the last few years. You know, we have not been as very fortunate on the price. You know, that's not come back around. And so farmers were kind of backing away from, you know, planting their wheat acres. And I think they're kind of coming back in. So why do you see that it's important to keep wheat acres in your cropping rotation?
For me, there's really two answers to that. The first is that I keep, well, as I was saying earlier about the portions that I plant, half of my acres will be in wheat in a normal year. Okay. The other half will be in either beans or milo. Okay. And if I keep that rotation on a regular basis, it really helps me out with prices so that not all my eggs are in one basket. Right. It helps me out with expenses because one crop it really helps the other crops along as far as weed control and fertility. Right. But the big thing is that I use wheat to clean up acres that might have had some problems with weed control. Okay. So we are fortunate that for you guys that our wheat breeders are continually, you know, developing new wheat varieties out here for us. And I know in the last couple of years we've had a lot of new wheat varieties, you know, that's come on the market. So it's kind of hard sometimes to keep up with those wheat varieties. So how do you go about selecting your different varieties that you select on half of your acres? The extension bulletin that tells you what the wheats made last year and the plot data that you can get either online or at the office are the only indicator of what we can expect for next year. Disease packages are so important. Milling quality is so important that you have to look at those things well in advance. If you go with the same varieties you have always planted, you'll get the same results you've always gotten, except a little less, because your disease package wears out, and millers change what they want. For instance, this one is Paradise from Polanski, and one of the big things was they have looked good in the tests for a lot of years now. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the local research test plots here.
Absolutely.
And we're fortunate that we have actually 2 locations that are fairly close here. Belleville, you know, which is just east of here.
You bet.
And they have lots of variety trials there. We also have Hayes, you know, that's fairly close. And we actually are fortunate in the Post Rock District here in Mitchell County. We have one of the replicated wheat test plots that the Belleville site plants for us there. And Marty Fletchaw has been a strong producer that's been a cooperator for several years. So it takes a lot of extra time, lots of effort, and more effort to put in a test plot.
And the nice thing about that is when you have that many plots within a relatively small area, you can replicate what acres you will be planting on. In other words, is it going to be a little drier soil? Well, maybe look closer to Hayes. Have you got some heavier ground? Look at Belleville. Right. And Marty's a good farmer and he does a good job every year. So, you know, what he does for us, we should thank him every day.
Okay, and I might just explain what we mean by replicated plot. It's a little bit different than maybe some of the test plots that we have out here, but a replication means that one wheat variety is planted at least 4 times within that small area, and then you account for part of the variability that can be within that field. Now, some of the other plots that we do, we'll have check varieties, which help measure that accuracy too in the field. What we mean by check varieties, every 5 or 6 we'll use the same variety, and then we'll adjust the rest of the plot to that variety.
As a standard.
So, exactly. Okay, another kind of area that's, the wheat is growing very good out here now, but so's along with the weeds. They're really popping up now. Right. So it seems like there's a lot of mustard species out here. It could be blue mustard, tansy mustard, flaxweed. So again, Mother Nature really hasn't maybe cooperated with us as much. We're a little late maybe of getting on our top dress along with our herbicide program. Absolutely. So at this point, have you been able to get into this wheat field yet to get top dressed or some weed herbicide?
This one has not been top dressed yet. It had about 45 pounds in it when I planted it and about 38 pounds of FOS, but I will go ahead and put on another 55 pounds of N and another 35 pounds of FOS, because that's what I will carry into my next milo crop.
Okay.
I have wheat for 2 years. The second year, I have to adjust my chemical to be a contact herbicide so that the cover crop I put in here will be unaffected by the weed control.
Okay.
It's worked out really well for me for the past 15 years. Nothing gets out of hand, and I know I'm going to rotate it anyway, so let her rip.
Okay, and you brought up a really good point on, you're going to put so much on now, so much on later to carry over your crop. What we really recommend, I know you are a really advocate, promoter of that, is for soil testing.
Absolutely.
Because that's really the only way that you're going to know exactly what's out here in that field.
The difference between a bet and an investment is whether you know what's already out there. I used to go by removal rate, and that was even a step up from, the neighbor always put down 60 pounds of N and 20 pounds of FOS. Now we find out that we're capable of a whole lot more. Once you start soil testing, you actually have information that you can make an educated decision on. Mm-hmm. And besides that, I'm cheap. If I don't have to put on that much N, I'm going to tighten back a little bit.
Right. And K-State Research and Extension does have a soil testing lab. There are many other soil testing laboratories that are available out there. So I'm not going to promote one or the other. We just want to promote people to get it done.